on the back of a cartoon coaster and the blue TV screen light. I drew a map of Canada, oh Canada, with your face sketched on it twice. Joni Mitchell, A Case of You. Why am I singing this tonight? Because tonight, actually, in Canada, in Toronto, Canada, I think, Zalika Reid Benta and her team, the jury of the Scotiabank Giller Prize of 2021, have announced the Longlist for the most prestigious Canadian Literary Award. And I want to present to you the Longlist and talk about the books that I am interested in. So let's get started. The folks from the Scotiabank Giller Prize, they did it quite unspectacularly today. They announced the long list of the Scotiabank Giller Prize for 2021. We have 12 titles, 12 books, I think 3 short story collections and 9 novels. And the long list was just read by the winner of the 2020 Scotiabank Giller Prize from Canada, Suvankam Tumavangsa, who won for her short story collection How to Pronounce Knife the prize last year. She read the names of the authors, and here they are in alphabetical order. 12 books to put your eyes on, to lay your eyes on, and to read probably. I'm interested in 3 or 4 of them, I would say, and the rest, so, well, let's wait. It's a very diverse list, that can I say already, and I'm so, in a way, shocked when I see what happens on BookTube right now, because it's Booker, everywhere. Like if we had no other books to read, like if we had no other awards that were worth anything. So here's to you, Scotiabank Giller Prize, and the books are Astra by Cedar Bowers. This is a debut novel. It's the story of a woman, Astra Brine, who was raised by her dad on a remote farm in British Columbia. And I think this is basically a coming-of-age novel as far as I understood it. She moves to Calgary when she grows up, and she meets a lot of people who have different roles in her life. People who want to rescue her, who want to control her, who want to become, change, and escape her. So everything. That is happening in our lives as well. We meet those people too, right? Her story shows the profound impact that an individual can have on those around her and the power struggles that play in all our relationships. What are we willing to give and receive to and from others, and what do we really know about the people close to us? That is the case in Astra by Cedar Bowers. Number 2 is a book that I have already mentioned on my channel before. This is What Strange Paradise by Omar Akkad. Omar Akkad was born in 1982. He's an Egyptian-Canadian author. He lives in Portland, Oregon, in the United States. And he's the best-selling author of American War that was published in 2017. It was an Oprah book. It was an Oprah Club book. It was a President Obama book. So this got really well sold, many copies, and probably also What Strange Paradise is a success. So this is one of the big names on the list for this year of the Scotiabank Giller Prize. This is about 9-year-old Amir, a Syrian boy who survives a boat trip through the Mediterranean, and he's rescued by a girl who's a couple of years older than he is. Her name is Vanna. She's a teenage girl. She's a local. She lives on that island where Amir is stranded, and she experiences her own kind of homelessness in a place and among people she has come to disdain. The story of 2 children finding their way through a hostile world, but also a story of empathy and indifference, of hope and despair, and about the way each of those things can blind us to reality. Omar Akkad and his novel What Strange Paradise. Then we come to the first short story collection. This is by Angelique Lalonde, and it's called Glorious Frazzled Beings. She's a very interesting person, the author, Angelique Lalonde. She grew up in Ktunaxa territory, First Nation territory in Canada. Her mother is Métis, her father is Québécois, which means that he's a French-speaking man. The stories she has about her ancestors have a lot of knots in them. She writes, as we know, she publishes short stories. She grows also food. She harvests medicines and works as a community organizer on Gitxsan territory, where she lives as an uninvited guest with her children, partner, and many non-human beings. Angelique is a PhD, a philosophical doctor in anthropology, right, from the University of Victoria. And her story Puka was her first great success. This is her first short story collection, which is a collection of human and more than human worlds that come together in places we call home. 4 sisters and their mother explore their fears while teeny ghost people dress up in fragments of their children's clothes. A somewhat ghost tends the family garden. Deep in the mountains, a shape-shifting mother must sift through her ancestors' gifts and the complexities of love when one boy is born with a beautiful set of fox ears and the other one is not. And the shape-shifting mother must make sense of her own inheritance. In the wake of her elderly mother's tragic death, a daughter tries to make sense of the online dating profile she left behind, and a man named Puka finds new ways to weave new stories into his abode, in spite of his inherited suffering. A startling and beguiling story collection, Glorious Frazzled Beings, is a love song to the homes we make, we keep, and break. The next one is my favorite. I admit that. That was my favorite when I went through this list twice now to give you a summary of it, and it's really my favorite right here, and I hope to be able to pronounce the name of the author somehow correctly. This is The Son of the House by Cheluchi Onyemelukwe-Onuobia. She was born in Nigeria. She has a PhD that she did in Canada. She advises international organizations in cases of violence against women and girls. So she's an activist, the author, like the one, Lalonde before, the author before. This book is the lives of 2 Nigerian women, divided by class and social inequality, intersect when they're kidnapped, held captive, and forced to await their fate together. A housemaid, Nwabulu, dreams of becoming a typist as she endures her employer's endless chores. She's tall and beautiful and in love with a rich man's son. The other woman, educated and privileged. Her name is Julie. She's a modern woman. Living on her own, she's happy to collect the golden jewelry love-struck Eugene brings her, but has no intention of becoming his second wife. When a kidnapping forces Nwabulu and Julie into a dark room together, years later, the 2 women relate the stories of their lives as they await their fates. Pulsing with vitality and intense human drama, Cheluchi Onyemelukwe-Onuobia's debut is set against 4 decades of vibrant Nigeria, celebrating the resilience of women as they navigate and transform what remains a man's world. That sounds super, super strong. Next one is also very interesting. It's another short story collection, the second one, right? This is A Dream of a Woman by Casey Plett. Casey Plett is a 34-year-old woman from Winnipeg in Canada. Her novel Little Fish in 2018 won a Lambda Literary Award. As you might know, the Lambda Literary Award is the LGBTQ plus award that is given in literature. And she won the Firecracker Award for Fiction and the Amazon First Novel Award for Canada. Her latest work, A Dream of a Woman, is her first book of short stories since her seminal 2014 collection, A Safe Girl to Love. Centering transgender women seeking stable adult lives, A Dream of a Woman finds quiet truths in prairie high-rises and New York warehouses and in freezing Canadian winters and drizzly Oregon days. In Hazel and Christopher, 2 childhood friends reconnect as adults after one of them has transitioned. In Perfect Places, a woman grapples with undesirability as she navigates fetish play with a man. In Couldn't Hear You Talk Anymore, the narrator reflects on past trauma and what might have been as she recalls tender moments with another trans woman. An ethereal meditation on partnership, sex, addiction, romance, groundedness, and love. The stories in A Dream of a Woman buzz with quiet intensity and the intimate complexities of being human. Even the next book is very interesting. It's another short story collection, the third one on the list. Third short story collection. The Scotiabank Giller Prize loves short stories, folks. And I would love to see short story collections on the Booker and on the National Book Award, but they might have different rules, right? No, not the National Book Award, because they had The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, for example, last year by Disha Filio, but not the Booker. They only have novels. The Octopus has 3 Hearts by Rachel Rose. Rachel Rose has published 4 collections of poetry before she has published this short story collection. These are dispatches from the margins of human society. Stories about damaged people who have committed, witnessed, or survived terrible acts and who must make their way in an unforgiving world. From a goat farmer to a suburban adulterer, a violent child to a polyamorous marine biologist, Rose's diverse characters have little in common except a life-sustaining connection to the animal world. The octopus, dogs, pigs, chameleons, bats, parrots, rats, and sugar gliders in their lives extend a measure of compassion and solace that their human communities lack, exploring the outer limits of empathy and forgiveness. The next one is a novel. This is Swimming Back to Trout River by Linda Rui Feng. And again, we have an immigration perspective here. We have that so often right now in the Scotiabank Giller Prize Award, which Canada is a land of immigration, and there are so many stories from so many different cultures. And here is one that is Chinese in the background. Linda Rui Feng, the author, is a professor, I think, at the University of Toronto, and she teaches Chinese cultural history, among other things. From a Chinese village where Junie grew up with her grandparents while her parents are living in America. So this is about a girl who's 12 years old. Her parents live already in America, and they have promised her daughter to get her also to America when she's 14 years old. But when she comes to America, she realizes that her parents are sort of breaking up. They're estranged by secrets of the past, things that happened during the Chinese Cultural Revolution. Swimming Back to Trout River weaves together the stories of 4 people while depicting their heartbreak and resilience, tenderly revealing the hope, compromises, and abiding ingenuity that make up the lives of immigrants. Feng's debut novel is filled with tragedy yet touched with life-affirming passion. There are very few white authors here, and the next one is a white author, and they are in a super minority in this list of Canadian books. This is The Listeners by Jordan Tannahill. Jordan Tannahill is a 33-year-old young author. This is about while lying in bed next to her husband one night, Claire Davon hears a low hum that he cannot hear, and it seems no one else can either. This innocuous noise begins causing Claire headaches, she gets nose bleedings, she gets insomnia, she's gradually upsetting the balance of her life, though no obvious source of medical cause can be found. She finds a student, after a while, who has the same problem. He is the same sort of noise, and then they find more and more people in the neighborhoods. What starts as a neighborhood self-help group gradually transforms into something far more extreme and with far-reaching, devastating consequences. The Listeners is an exhilarating and erotic novel exploring the seduction of the wild and unknowable, the human search for the transcendent, the rise of conspiracy theories in the West, and the desire for community and connection in our increasingly polarized times. The next one, again, is an author who is established, who has been shortlisted before for the Scotiabank Giller Prize in 2012. Now she's 53 years old. I'm talking about Kim Thuy and her new novel, M. And This is about Emma, Jade, and Louis, who are born into the havoc of the Vietnam War. Orphaned, saved, and cared for by adults coping with the chaos of Saigon and freefall, they become children of the Vietnamese diaspora. M is not a romance in any usual sense of the word, but it's a word whose homonym, Aimee, to love, resonates. On every page, a book powered by love in the larger sense. A portrait of Vietnamese identity emerges that is wholly remarkable. Owned in wartime violence that borders on genocide, and then by the ingenuity, sheer grit, and intelligence of Vietnamese Americans, Vietnamese Canadians, and other Vietnamese former refugees who go on to build some of the most powerful small business empires in the world. M is a poetic story steeped in history about those most impacted by the violence and their later accomplishments. In many ways, M is perhaps Kim Thuy's most personal book, the one in which she trusts her readers enough to share with them not only the pervasive love she feels, but also the rage and the horror at what she and so many other children of the Vietnam War had to live through. Written in Kim Thuy's trademark style, near to prose poetry, M reveals her fascination with connection. Through the linked destinies of characters connected by birth and destiny, the novel zigzags between the rubber plantations of Indochina, daily life in Saigon during the war as people find ways to survive and help each other, Operation Baby Lift, which evacuated thousands of biracial kids and orphans from Saigon in April 1975 at the end of the Vietnamese War, and today's global nail polish and nail salon industry, largely driven by former Vietnamese refugees, and everything in between. Here are human lives shaped both by unspeakable trauma and also the beautiful sacrifices of those who made sure at least some of these children survived. The next author is maybe the VIP of this list, although Kim Thuy is very, very famous and Omar Akkad is as well very well known. But here it comes. Here comes Miriam Toews. Her novel Fight Night has not been published yet. I think it's being published in a month from now. She has been shortlisted twice for the Scotiabank Giller Prize. She has won all other kinds of awards. She was shortlisted for A Complicated Kindness and for All My Puny Sorrows. This one, you're a small thing, Grandma writes, and you must learn to fight. Swift's grandma, Elvira, has been fighting all her life. From her upbringing in a strict religious community, she has fought those who wanted to take away her joy, her independence, and her spirit. She has fought to make peace with her loved ones when they have chosen to leave her. And now, even as her health fails, Grandma is fighting for a family. For a daughter, partnerless and in the third term of a pregnancy, and for her granddaughter, Swift, a spirited 9-year-old who has been suspended from school. Crammed together in their Toronto home on the precipice of extraordinary change, Grandma and Swift undertake a vital new project, setting out to explain their lives in letters they will never send. Alternating between the exuberant, precocious voice of young Swift and her irrepressible, tenacious Grandma, Fight Night is a love letter to mothers and grandmothers, and to all the women who are still fighting painfully, ferociously for a way to live on their own terms. And now comes the 11th book on the list, and this is The Strangers by Katherena Vermette. Katherena Vermette is another First Nation author. Her father is Métis, and she is an advocate for Indigenous rights in Canada and has done so all her adult life. She has fought for Indigenous rights in Canada. Cedar has nearly forgotten what her family looks like. Phoenix has nearly forgotten what freedom feels like. And Elsie has nearly given up hope. Nearly. After time spent in foster homes, Cedar goes to live with her estranged father. Although she grapples with the pain of being separated from her mother, Elsie, and sister Phoenix, she's hoping for a new chapter in her life, only to find herself once again in a strange house, surrounded by strangers. From a youth detention center, Phoenix gives birth to a baby she'll never get to raise and tries to forgive herself for all the harm she's caused, while wondering if she even should. Elsie, struggling with addiction and determined to turn her life around, is buoyed by the idea of being reunited with her daughters and strives to be someone they can depend on, unlike her own distant mother. These are the strangers, each haunted in her own way. Between flickering moments of warmth and support, the women diverge and reconnect, fighting to survive in a fractured system that pretends to offer success but expects them to fail. Facing the distinct blade of racism from those they trusted most, they urge one another to move through the darkness, all the while wondering if they'll ever emerge safely on the other side. A breathtaking companion to her best-selling debut, The Break, Vermette's The Strangers brings readers into the dynamic world of the stranger family, the strength of their bond, the shared pain in their past, and the light that beckons from the horizon. This is a searing exploration of race, class, and inherited trauma, and matrilineal bonds that, despite everything, refuse to be broken. And you see another theme in this Scotiabank Giller Prize Longlist when you hear about this book. A lot about women, about the connection of women, about maternal lines. This is the third book already that has this very strong focus on the history of women. The last book, last but not least, of course, is by a writer and a translator. It's We, Jane by Aimee Wall. Searching for meaning in her Montreal life, March begins an intense friendship with an older woman, also from Newfoundland, who tells her a story about purpose, about a duty to fulfill. It's back home and it goes by the name of Jane. March travels back to a small community on the island with the older woman to continue the work of an underground movement in Chicago's 60s. Abortion services performed by women always referred to as Jane. She commits to learning how to continue this legacy and protect such essential knowledge. But the nobility of her task and the reality of small-town life compete, and personal fractures within their group begin to grow. We, Jane, probes the importance of care work by women for women, underscores the complexity of relationships in close circles, and beautifully captures the inevitable heartache of understanding home. Another woman novel. This is we have a really strong group of novels that center around the relationships of women. We have a really strong group of authors who have First Nation background. And we also have the immigration stories from Vietnam, from Egypt, from Nigeria on this long list of the Giller Prize. So I hope that this is interesting for you guys, because I think we should read more than just books. That's why I sort of a little light for the Scotiabank Giller Prize of 2021. Tell me if you have read already one of these books. Lots of these books, actually, I haven't made a list or something, but I realized when I was looking up them that many of them were originally published as paperback. So this is a really paperback. This is another theme of the Scotiabank Prize this year, that there are lots of books, I think 4 or 5, that have been apparently published as paperbacks for the very first time in the original edition. So this was the Scotiabank Giller Prize. Please let me know what you think about it, and please let me know if you want to read anything of this. So, boom, boom, boom. Thanks very much. I'm going to visit another Swedish city for the first time in 2 years very soon, and this is one of the things that I can promise you. I will make a video down there, one vlogish video, and showing you around a little bit, and another one bookish video, of course, as well. So thanks very much for watching this video today and tonight, because it's late. I should sleep now. Stay tuned, folks, but most of all, please stay safe. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.